Okay, hear me out. Imagine the 2008 Lions, the 2017 Browns, the 1976 Bucks, and a host of other teams that have struggled throughout the years. Were punished for being so bad. That's right, I'm talking about a relegation league. So how would something like this work? Would it even make any sense? This video is just a fun thought experiment. Living in the UK, relegation leagues are the norm in soccer, so I thought, could something like this work in football? And if so, how? Although the NFL wouldn't allow something like this to happen, as fans I think there can be a case to be made. I'll get to the flaws of the system later in the video, but first the fun part. I think it's fair to say that there is a lack of incentive to improve for a lot of owners. There are huge TV contracts, local government subsidies, and even the threat of a team leaving the city gives the owner much more leverage than fans. If your team sucks, the NFL will prop them up and reward them with high draft picks, so some fans are often stuck with bad teams. To be clear, I actually do like the system the NFL employs, specifically around draft picks, but you can argue there is a lack of incentive for bad teams to improve. The fear of relegation to a second division would definitely motivate owners to be proactive and improve management. So with a relegation league, you'd have two divisions. Division 1 is the top league, Division 2 is the lower league, and at the end of the season you'd have the worst Division 1 teams moving down to Division 2, that is relegation, and then the best teams in Division 2 moving up to Division 1, that is promotion. Okay, I've got two systems that I'm proposing to Mr. Goodell. The first one's a bit more logical, the second one's a bit more fun. So let's start with system 1. A relegation system would require expanding the NFL, maybe even international, London, who would all start in the second division. I know we have divisions in the NFL that might be a bit confusing, so you can just think of it as two leagues. The first question we have to answer then is, if we're adding teams, where do those new teams get talent from? There are a few ways you could do this. You could add a few more rounds to draft for Division 2 teams. You could allow them to participate from late rounds onwards, so say round 5 and beyond. The only thing with that is, like, I'm thinking some terrible D2 team is getting the next Tom Brady in round 6. Or you could just give them access to only undrafted players. And because this is a Division 2 team, they'd be making less money, so they're going to have a lower salary cap as well. You might be thinking, why would somebody want to go play in Division 2 when the better league is right there? Well, I'd say the biggest reason is probably playing time. An undrafted free agent is going to have a much easier time making a League 2 team than an NFL team. And if he can prove himself on a League 2 team, then the doors are open for League 1 teams in the future. This will definitely elevate the importance of trades as well. In Europe, there'll be teams who trade for key players to help with promotion, and you might see a similar thing here. Many NFL teams now are going to have unproductive players that would be productive in a League 2, and they could definitely extract some value from those players. And similarly, if you have a League 2 team that's struck gold in the draft or an undrafted free agent, they can trade that player with a League 1 team to maybe build out the team or get more draft picks, whatever it may be. So that's the idea for the first system. Well, what's the second system that's a bit more fun? I came across this article from Yahoo Sports, and I think it's a really interesting way of laying out a soccer-style relegation for the NFL. It's a bit different to the system we just discussed, so let's see how. So in this system, you have two divisions again, and in this case, they have the same rules, the same salary cap, and the same draft. The key difference is only the teams in the top division compete for the Super Bowl. The league wouldn't expand in this system. They basically just divide the current league as it is, put 16 of the best teams in Tier 1 and the other 16 teams in Tier 2. The playoffs would be reduced. It would just be the top 4 teams competing for the Super Bowl, but this is where it gets pretty interesting. Instead of just a simple relegation style where you're in the bottom 2 or bottom 4 and you get pushed to the league below, here you would have the relegation playoffs for the bottom 4 teams. As I'm describing this, I'm going to have teams as examples just so you can visualize it a bit better. So the losers of the 2 semi-finals would be relegated to Division 2. The winners would move on to the second round. The winner of that game would avoid relegation. The loser would have a chance for survival, but we need to actually explain the next batch of playoffs to see how this loser would survive. So the 4 best teams from Division 2 would enter promotion playoffs, and the winner of each game would be promoted to D1. The 2 losers from the promotion playoffs would go into a second round. The loser is stuck in D2, but the winner would go into a promotion relegation playoff, and it would meet the loser of the D1 second round relegation playoff game that we discussed. The winner is in D1, the loser goes to D2. The article then goes on to suggest a tournament for the worst teams in D2, and I think it's pretty funny, but it doesn't really make sense and it's not relevant for this discussion. Whatever system it is, a relegation does increase the importance of regular season games, in particular for the weaker teams. If there is a risk of relegation or promotion if you're in a lower league, then every game has more meaning. Okay, I found that pretty fun, but I think it's important to actually look into the reasons why this can't happen, or I should say won't happen. Firstly, the sport is violent and dangerous, more so than other sports. The average career in the league is 3.3 years, so the risk reward of playing in a lower division isn't going to be appealing to most. If you're going to put your body on the line, then you want to have enough money to retire once you're out of the league in, say, 3 years. While obviously this isn't the same as what the top tier players are getting, the minimum an NFL player can make is $750K. At 3 years, that's over $2 million, which if handled correctly is enough for a modest retirement, given most people earn $1.7 million over their whole life in the US. And if you have a League 2 team, the money's going to be less. You're putting your body on the line, but for much less money, so I could see how that would be less appealing. And there are other problems you can find with the system, but here is the main reason: money. A primary goal of the NFL is to maintain the health of the franchises and keep them going. As this Wikipedia article notes, it is organized in a way that assures the team's continued existence in the league from year to year. And I think the use of revenue sharing and a salary cap to maintain the level of parity between franchises demonstrates this goal of the NFL, to maintain the viability of all NFL teams. And a relegation system totally disrupts this objective. In soccer, of course, finances are important. In the UK, if a team gets relegated, they do get a cash injection to prevent them from going bankrupt. But we can see it's not the main objective, because if you look at relegation, it often has devastating financial consequences for club owners. They'll lose sponsorships, they'll lose ticket sales, and the value of the team definitely goes down. Even if you look at the top European clubs, they have a host of financial problems and a lot of debt. Top teams like Barcelona, Real Madrid, and Man United all have 9 figures of debt. As this paper notes, in Europe where the system is applied, teams compete intensively, to the point of bankruptcy in fact. And so the finances of the NFL and other closed league sports are much better. There is a reason that many of the top valued sports teams are US based. To further validate the point of the importance of money in the NFL, there's a couple more papers I want to cite. This Stanford paper concluded that promotion and relegation reduces total revenue, and this paper found that the sport leagues that practice promotion and relegation will have unambiguously higher aggregate spending on player talent than closed leagues. So essentially costs increase and revenue decreases, which is not something an NFL owner is going to sign up to. So yeah, we know this won't happen, owners wouldn't allow it, but I thought it'd be a fun experiment. Alright, thanks for watching.